Welcome to our video today, the Ministry Design Process, Vision Distribution. In other words, communicating your vision. I'm Marshall Shannon with Ministry Design Concepts. There are 4 phases that we have broken the Ministry Design Process into: discovery, design, delivery, and direction. Today we're going to be dealing with vision, communicating it, and that goes in the discovery phase. We want you to understand that everything you're doing during the process of designing your ministry, one builds upon another, such as the pyramid we're showing you here. Vision is resting on your mission and core values. You want to get each one of these steps correct and designed correctly so that you can develop a plan and implement it. To give you an overview of where we've been in our visioneering process, we've talked about the definition of vision and visioneering, the description and distinctions and derivatives, the directors of visioneering, the discovery, the deliberation, the development, and today the distribution. Each one of these work together to make a cohesive whole concerning your journey as leader of your visioneering process. The vision casting process has 3 parts: the communicators, the message, and the recipients. We're going to talk about each 3 of these. So as you grab a notebook, take notes, and perhaps pause it at some point, ask a question, make a comment in the comment section. We trust that you'll gather it in and look at how God wants you to communicate His vision to your congregation. The communicators, the primary leader is the vision cultivator. The primary leader is the vision cultivator, and he has 3 main duties when he casts the vision. As the vision cultivator, he is going to initiate the vision development process. He is going to lead in the development of the vision. So the primary leader, is the visionary leader who serves as the point person for the process. He is the primary communicator, therefore the primary vision caster. He also is the primary developer of the vision casting team. Secondly, he is going to be the vision communicator. He is going to keep the vision before the people and find fresh, new ways to communicate the vision. So you're always going to be finding ways to recast it, to make it fresh and exciting, motivational. You're not going to let it grow stale. The third primary duty of the primary leader is he is the vision clarifier. He rethinks the vision, refines the vision, repackages the vision, and applies it to the ministry. The second key communicators when you communicate your vision to your congregation and perhaps to your community is you have not only the primary leader but secondary leaders. The secondary leaders are going to be your staff and lay leaders. These folks should be the key influencers in your ministry. They develop the dream into a vision. They rally support behind the vision. They pass the vision on to as many people as possible. The pastor would be wise to meet regularly with his key influencers. Then you have the church family. The church family are your members, or if you refer to them as your partners or as your owners, but they're also your regular attenders. And they are a necessary part of casting the vision, and they can help the vision go viral. The more people you have correctly sharing, enthusiastically, being in favor of and excited about the vision, the better chance you have of God's vision and people catching it, taking ownership of it, and committing to it. The second part, along with the communicators, is you have the message. It is God's vision for your ministry. That's your message. It has to be packaged in an effective way. It cannot be foggy, fuzzy. It has to be focused, clear, and compelling. There are two key factors that affect the communication of God's vision for your ministry. First, there has to be comprehension of the vision. People have to understand it and be able to put it into their own words so they can communicate it freely and easily with other people. So they've got to understand it. So you have to ask yourself, do our people understand God's vision for our ministry? Have we packaged it in such a way that there's no fogginess, no fuzziness, they can focus on it, it's clear and compelling? Without understanding, you might as well speak a completely different vision, or you might as well as not have a vision or bother with the visioneering process. People have got to understand what you're saying. So what helps people catch the vision? Along with people understanding it, 25% of the people in the world, I am told, can create vision. In other words, they can package it, understand it, and put it together. And 75% of people in the world, including your congregation, are to catch the vision. And so what will help your people catch God's vision for your ministry? Well, a clear understanding of the problem that caused the visioneering process to begin with will help them catch the vision. When they see the need, it helps them. The vision becomes the solution to the problem that you have presented to them. So you preach it by telling what the problem is and then give them the solution. You want to think about the promised land. You want to think about the walls being broke down. Look at some biblical examples. You think of mankind lost in sin, and the solution was Christ and the cross. So what will help the people catch the vision is a clear understanding of a missed opportunity. You want to preach to motivate them to action, to meet the ministry opportunity. Tell them what the potential is and what their involvement will create. Give them a clear vision for a completed mission, how lives will be transformed and changed, what needs will be met, and what problem will be solved. Along with this, one of the key factors that will affect the communication of the vision is not only comprehension so that people can understand it and catch it, commit to it, take ownership of it, and share it with others, is the vision has to be credible. There has to be credibility. Do they not only understand it, but do the people believe it? If so, will they commit themselves to it? What contributes to the credibility of the vision? What's going to make it credible? Well, first off is the performance of the key leader. If the leaders will show themselves in their performance, it will develop credibility. Their shape, their abilities, the leader's talents, the leader's preaching and teaching and counseling and leadership and personality. Both the bandwidth of the leader and his capabilities and capacity to lead. And so a true leader is tested when he is communicating the vision, because much of who he is and how he performs as a leader will establish the credibility of the vision, and there just isn't any way around that. Another one is the contents of the vision. Will it solve a problem? Do they grasp an opportunity? Do the contents, are they credible? Is it going to solve an urgent need or meet an urgent need in the community or in the church? Then is the integrity of the leader. Here you're going to deal with the character of you as the leader. Are you trustworthy? Is there integrity there? So they're going to look at your character. They're going to look at your commitment. They're going to look at your credibility. They're going to look at your conduct. The two key factors that affect the communication of the vision is the people's understanding and do the people believe it. Do the people understand God's vision? Do the people believe God's vision? And we as leaders have a lot to do to establish the credibility of God's vision. They're looking to our performance. the contents of the vision, and the integrity and character of the leader. So if you don't have the capability to lead, and you don't have strong content that wins the argument as to why you believe God has this vision for your ministry, and you don't have the character to go with it, you're going to have problems leading and communicating and selling the vision to your people. Andy Stanley says in Visioneering, the book Visioneering, to communicate the vision by answering 4 questions. So here they are. Number 1, simply, what is the problem? Number 2, what is the solution? Number 3, what is the reason something must be done? Why, then, is it urgent? What is the reason something must be done now? So I believe that's good counsel for us to take and good coaching for us to look at how we've packaged the God's vision for our ministry, and we've developed it, and now we're going to deliver it, and we're going to communicate what is the problem, what is the solution, what is the reason something has to be done, and why does it have to be done right now? George Barna says in The Power of Vision, a book he wrote some years ago, that there are recipients. And the third part of this, remember we talked about the communicators, the message, and here's the third part, the recipients, the receivers. The receivers are going to give you an audience, and this is broken up into several ways. First off is the ministry community, and this involves the people who are involved in implementing the vision. Your pastoral staff, your boards, your support staff, other staff, members, and regular attenders who are involved in making the vision come to life and implementing the vision. The church family should be your ministry community. Then you have your ministry constituency. And these are those outside the church family, the Christian community outside of your church congregation. They may be occasional attenders, other believers in other churches that partner with you in fulfilling the Great Commission. So you're not limited just to your key leaders or even just to your church family, but you can look to anyone who has invested themselves and taken interest in your ministry to help you communicate and receive the message so that they're sold on it, praying for it, excited about it, and going to take and look for what is God's part for them to play in fulfilling the vision. And then we want to talk about ministry involvement. You want people to buy in, to take ownership, to participate. You know, for years we have called our congregation, they join the church and become a church member. Let me encourage you to revisit that in your own thinking about the design of ministry, because the word member or membership has with it somewhat the idea of receiving benefits or entitlements. And I'm Baptist, and so the way our church government has been set up traditionally, everyone has a vote and a voice. But in the involvement, wouldn't you want people to take ownership of the church and ownership of God's vision and to make it their own? They want to buy into it, commit, and participate. So the effect you want to have on the audience is you want them to buy in. You want them to take ownership. You want them to participate. The effect you want to have on them is you want them empowered with the vision, energized by the vision, and inspired by the vision. There are some practical methods for communicating your vision. These are practical methods that we recommend that you consider using if they fit within your context. First is by the leader's example. You want to make certain that you lead. If the leader is not sold out, committed, and is not using his time, talent, and treasure in an obvious way, so by your example, you want to communicate it. Secondly, by the leader's message. You must understand the audience. You must use expressive language. You must use your charisma, and you've got to speak with conviction. Then you want to use some visual images. So along with the leader's example and message, you're going to do some very simple things. And here are some suggestions. Jot them down. Think through them. Create your own. But you can use videos to communicate the vision, webinars, and invite your people to a GoToMeeting and attend it, or put it on your website and let them watch it. Your website, YouTube, iTunes, blogs, tweets, newsletters, logos, brochures, banners, signage, booklets, postcards, bulletins, any printed material you can get your hands on that would be a visual image. You can use it today to make certain that people can see it with their mind's eye. Tell a story through these images. And then by corporate meetings, use drama, skits, video testimony, family meetings and chats, songs, podcasts, and live testimonies. During your corporate meetings, during your church meetings, have town hall meetings and talk to them about it. Have cottage meetings and set up your leadership team, your visioneering team, to go into people's homes and bring 5 to 10 families together and share it, or use a special room at a restaurant and pull your people together in groups, but communicate it to them. You can use it in your new members classes, your newcomer classes, and your new members classes, or if you're going to use my suggestion, your new owners classes, so that you can find different ways here to communicate the vision. Everywhere and every way that you can penetrate a person's thought and heart and head, you want to use it. So what would work in your context with your congregation and your community so that God would penetrate their heart with what he has as his preferred future for your church? Then we want to talk about articulating the vision. You're going to communicate God's vision to your congregation. How are you going to articulate the vision? Well, first, you want to use visual word images. You want to show them. Visual pictures speak a million words. Articulate the vision by using visual word images. There are benefits to it, so you want to show them the benefits of the vision, the rewards of the vision, and you want to give them an example. Will Mancini, in his book Church Unique, talks about this very thing of articulating the vision. You know, we can give people stats, but when you start showing them and sharing with them a story, they can see it with their mind's eye when you tell a story. But Will gives this illustration. He says, imagine for a moment you are on the deck of a ship headed to the Caribbean, but all you can see is open water and open sky. As you are standing there, the captain of the ship walks by or walks over to you, pulls out a compass, and motions for your attention. You walk over, look at the needle. The captain then acknowledges you are indeed headed in the right direction. At that moment, do you get all excited about it? Probably not. Though you might be reassured that the captain knows how to steer the ship, your pulse does not change by looking at the compass. But if the captain brings over a full-color travel brochure, you might have a different response altogether. When you see the exclusive beach, you might start feeling the warm sand between your toes, the sun on your face. There is a visceral response, an emotional response to a visual picture, to a visual image. The brochure with its illustrated pages brings anticipation and excitement. But the compass, it doesn't do that for you. So give people, paint them a portrait of what God's preferred future is going to look like. Give them a vacation brochure. Stir their imagination. Stir their imagination. You want to give them and make them have an emotional response, not an intellectual response. And so you've been told or heard this before, when steakhouses sell their steak, they don't sell anything really but the sizzle. People can smell it. They can visualize the taste, and they use marketing to help them create anticipation and then create excitement. You've got to be a storyteller who can excite people through their emotional response and anticipate what God is going to do. Well, let's move from that to articulating the vision by creating living language that anticipates and illustrates their future. So how do you do that? How do you create living language that anticipates and illustrates your congregation's future? Well, first, you want to use substance and style. It is vital that you do this, and the goal should be that you are going to create interest and intentionality. If your delivery doesn't create interest in what God wants to do, and intentionally you have done so, then you've probably failed. There are some tools that you ought to use to improve how you communicate God's vision for your ministry. First off, consider distinguishing between mission and vision. Mission, or your mandate, is like the compass that I referred to, or that Will refers to in his book, that gives us direction. But vision is like a colored brochure that gives us stimulation. Let me give you an example. In Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 7 through 10, Moses writes about the promised land, and he refers to Canaan, the promised land, as this way in that one passage: as a good land with brooks and water, fountains and springs flowing in the valleys and hills, wheat and barley, fig trees, pomegranates, olive trees, and honey, food without scarcity, abundance. They'll lack nothing. Precious metals, copper. Blessing awaits your arrival. And he talks to them about it. Years ago, my wife and I had a real burden in our church, where we pastored for 18 years, to build and establish marriages there. And in doing so, we did a number of different events and marriage enrichment seminars to help our congregation establish and strengthen and build their marriages and their relationship with God and with each other and with their children. So we focused on marriage. Well, my wife and I thought, why don't we do a couples retreat? And let's just get a couple of bed and breakfasts, and we had a couple that sat side by side up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and let's just see if we can get 7 couples, 3 per bed and breakfast, to come spend a weekend, and we'll bring a specialist in to speak to us, and we'll have great meals. Well, I stood up, and we created a brochure, but stood up and presented to the people and said, this is what I'd like to do. And I painted a picture of the Blue Ridge Mountains, sitting on the side of a mountain at a quaint bed and breakfast with a roaring fire in every bedroom and a wonderful warm setting, with a dinner table with a fireplace and the chef coming and serving the food, an opportunity to take your wife out to eat and see the sights. And I talked about the specialists we were having to come in, and I set up such an aroma and an ambiance in the setting that we didn't have 7 couples sign up. We had 54 couples sign up. And so what I'm telling you is true. I gave them used a tool by showing them word pictures, and described what this ministry was going to do, what this retreat was going to do for their marriage, and how it would strengthen it, and the wonderful time that they would have together. And we ended up doing that for some years and took them different places. And each year the number grew, and we had people wanting to come from outside of our church just to be a part of that annual event. But I learned to paint word pictures that cast a visual brochure in their minds, a video, so to speak, where they could see it. And I had to describe it. Well, think of the compass versus the brochure. The compass may give them direction, but the brochure energizes them and makes them enthusiastic. It gets them excited. Also, you find that it defines direction, but your vision describes the future, the benefits and the rewards and the blessings. It informs and inspires. And so you've got the compass versus the brochure, the mission versus the vision. The mission defines direction, but the vision really describes the future. The mission may inform, but the vision inspires. The mission tells you what you're going to do versus seeing it. And it states in one breath what the mission is going to be of the church and can drive people toward it. But the vision is a state of breathlessness when they go, wow, I can't wait to be a part of this and see God do this in our people and in our community. What a vision God's given us for what he wants for our church. And the mission directs energy, but the vision creates energy. And then the mission integrates activity, but the vision encourages risk-taking so that people were willing to risk and step out and trust God to move forward. Along with articulating the vision, I would suggest that you divide your living language into two parts, divided into two parts. Qualitative vision, where you speak to the nature or character of the future and you describe it. And there are 6 ingredients that are a part of the qualitative vision casting. One is shared experience. You want to use shared experiences to connect people on an emotional level. Remember, this is, you want to deal with not their intellect, but their emotion, so they can see it with their mind's eye and commit to it before the Lord. It will be logical. It will be reasonable. It will be left-brained, but you want to approach them right-brained, where they can see it, the milk and honey, the blessings of it, the harvest of it, the benefits and rewards of it. You want to make certain that you speak to the problem and the opportunity and what will happen if the congregation doesn't act. Then you want to deal with the recipient's perspective. Paint a picture of the better future from the congregation's perspective. You must step into their mind to do this. You've got to understand how they think, how they feel, how they process. Show how the vision makes their life better, not just the church better. Show them how it's going to affect their children and their neighbors. Then you want to use urgency and call them to action. Why is action needed today? What is lost if they wait? And then you want to make it a God-sized goals. Give the congregation mind-blowing, God-sized goals. Something that's going to take God to carry it out. So this is not a human effort. This is us partnering with God in his provision, in his plan, and his preferred future for God's people and for a lost community. And then you want to make certain that you clarify your biblical basis and show how God is pleased by it so that they are moved by this. Then you want to talk to them, and the second part of breaking your living language into two parts is the quantitative vision. You want to speak to a numerical or measurable aspect of the better future. So you want to set goals. You want to be able to relate your language to winning souls and making disciples. However, within your theology and how you put together the mission of your church, you want to use that language so they can see transformed lives in how the lives are going to be transformed, how they're going to be bettered spiritually, and maybe all the other aspects as well. How God is going to do good as you partner with him. You want to keep it simple. Stay on target and keep everyone with you. Only one target at a time, because complexity just confuses people. So keep it simple. Stay on target, and keep everyone with you. Target the number of times you wish to hit your goal in a predetermined amount of time, and use bullet points to teach it. But keep it simple. Keep everyone on the same page. So here's a simple rule. Use one target and goal at a time to keep everyone on the same page, rowing in the same direction with the same cadence. So you pretend and draw an image that, hey, we're going to keep everybody in the same boat, set up in the right seat with an oar in their hands, rowing in the same cadence in the same direction. You're leading and managing the process, and you're using quantitative vision, so you're giving them measurable goals, and you set the goals and talk about what you'd like to see God do. So determine your targets by identifying the most important needs or opportunities. Simply put, what is mission critical? Here's an illustration for you. Think of a mountain drive, and you've got mile markers, and you're moving mile marker to mile marker, and you're going to give them a panoramic view of where you're headed. So you're up on the side of this mountain driving. You're showing them, as you go around the mountain, the different panoramic views of what God's vision looks like, and what your ministry is going to look like in the future, and what God is going to do, and what need is he going to meet, and what the solution is, and what their part is in it. And you're drawing this visual image, and you're showing them step by step, mile marker by mile marker, so that they can see it and how God is going to take them from where they are to where he wants them to be, and the increment steps to get there. So you're going to show them strategically how you're going to accomplish God's vision and reach the promised land. So consider creating a missional vision. So you're speaking to their head by your missional goals, and you're speaking to their heart with your visional goals. And missional goals can motivate, challenge, and focus people toward results. Visional goals can inspire people. So the rule, the vision should always precede the mission in your visitation, in your presentation, so that you want to make certain that you're reaching their heart where they can commit to it, not just so they understand it, comprehend it, and see the need for it, but that they commit their body, mind, and soul to the Lord. There ought to be spiritual maturity going on. Disciples ought to be made through this process. People ought to be advancing in their relationship with God and growing spiritually. They ought to be moving step by step, growing in grace, 2 Corinthians 3:18. You ought to see this as a part of your disciple-making process. As you lead them through this and exhibit your leadership and commitment to God, they'll follow your lead as you convince them of what God wants. That's why it's very important to involve a lot of people in the visioneering process, so they have an opportunity to be there at ground level and a part of what God is revealing to you as it is developed. So be sure you have a clear view yourself before trying to communicate it to your congregation. Folks, you don't need to be foggy about this. Howard Hendricks said for years, if it's a mist in the pulpit, it'll be a fog in the pew. So no fogginess, no fuzziness. You want to be able to describe in clear, compelling, concise language that which you can clearly see yourself. So you need to practice it out loud. Practice it on your spouse. Talk to your key leaders. Talk to your mentor. Write it down. Draw the word pictures. Practice doing this so that you can paint a picture of the route ahead and the destination to be reached. Bring the people to the mountaintop with you to see the view of God's vision. Rally your congregation by showing them what you see. So how do you move others by what you see? Well, you want to unlock their imagination and engage their mind's eye. You want to help them see the invisible. You want to help them see the invisible. So you want to use your imagination. You know, Hebrews 1 says, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen." I really wonder if our imagination and our faith, they're closely connected, that we're exercising the muscle of faith when we are provoked in our imagination. Abraham had to catch God's vision for God making him a nation. Moses had to see with the mind's eye not only the enslavement of God's people, but what God wanted to bless them with through giving them their own land. And on you go, where the muscles of faith and the muscles of imagination are closely connected together. C.S. Lewis said this, "Reason is the natural organ of truth, but imagination is the organ of meaning." Give meaning to God's vision for your congregation by introducing them and helping them catch God's vision by stirring their imagination. Help them see what it's going to be like. When I would set up mission trips for our church to take, and we would go out west to help a church planter, or into Canada or Mexico to help a church planter, I had to stand up and be able to describe to them what I believe was God's vision for our mission program and the short-term mission trips, and cast a vision for them so they could catch it and then commit to it and come give me 2 weeks, 3 weeks of their time and understand the potential of what we were going to do and how we were going to do it and what it was going to cost and their part in playing. And our group that went grew every year, and they looked forward to that event. But we had to be able to help them see the invisible. They couldn't literally see the lives that they were going to impact on the mission field in Canada or out west in the back plains of Wyoming dealing with the church there. We had to help them see the invisible. And we wanted to use metaphors as what some have called thought software. And we blended them with storytelling and question asking to turn the listener's ears into eyes. Aristotle said that the soul never thinks without a portrait or a picture. So use metaphors. A metaphor is a figure of speech in which one thing is spoken of as though it were another. Think of someone who says, "All the world is my stage. He is as tall as a tree." Those are metaphors. It is an implied comparison. Use storytelling, the telling of an event, to tell them a story. Ask them questions. Generate a pathway of thought in the listeners by asking a set of questions. We can generate new dreams and realities with our metaphors and everyday images. Christ used servants and harvesters and fishermen and soil and wheat and salt and light. And he uses these things to help us see with the mind's eye what he was talking about. I believe it takes, for probably the majority of us, a great deal of work for us to be able to communicate God's vision in such a way, qualitatively and quantitatively, so that they can see what God means and they can catch it. Paint them a Birmingham, as the song says. Paint them a picture of Canaan, the promised land. Paint them a picture of what it's going to look like as they grasp God's vision and join him in what he is doing. It is the greatest cause of all time. Help them see God's vision for your ministry. Well, I'm Marshall Shannon, your ministry design coach. You can reach us on either one of these two websites, our training website or our information website, at this email address or either one of these office or cell phone numbers. And we invite you to call us and give us the opportunity to hear your story and to help you go through the visioneering process one-on-one if you wish. Thank you so much for listening.